What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another JFAQ, Japan's frequently asked questions. I am Unrested with the questions you requested. Today, we're covering a topic that we've just recently covered because it's a popular one, and that is myths about Japan. I'm here to dispel a couple more myths that you haven't heard before, and that's because these are either miscommunicated, misheard, or come from a source that looks at Japan as a form of entertainment and not an actual culture, so they tend to exaggerate stuff. Let's dive right in with number one. Number one, Japanese TV is amazing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Scott, I've seen a couple clips on YouTube of some pretty crazy stuff on Japanese TV. For example, two very hot models blowing a dead roach back and forth through a pipe and seeing who gets stuck with swallowing the roach. Maybe something crazy like manzai comedians trying to read books or read speeches while they're given a hand job. Yeah, that's not typical everyday Japanese TV. A lot of what you're seeing there are either cuts from shows long in Japan's past or cuts from DVDs that are actually ones that you have to purchase and are usually quite expensive. For example, that one with the people reading the different skits or reading the books while getting a hand job, that is not something that's regularly on Japanese TV. It would not be allowed. Mostly what you're dealing with is a lot of talk shows, variety shows, and cooking shows. A lot of these talk shows feature no-name talent. They also have a couple actors come on, but it's usually whoever's popular at the time for starring in some movie. In between there, you've got a couple manzai comedian acts that come on, which if slapstick's your thing, you may really find these funny, but personally, I'm not a big fan of slapstick humor, so I don't really find them overly funny. And then there is the cooking shows where Smap cooks another omelet and everybody claps. Yay, Smap, you did it. You cooked another omelet. Yay, good job. Those shows suck. Myth number two, Japanese people wear crazy avant-garde fashion. There is always the constant rumor and idea that people all around Japan are constantly in either cosplay, dressed up in avant-garde fashion, Lolita goth, in costumes, dressed up in cyberpunk technical wear with wires and cables and too many zippers attached to their clothes. Well, that may be true for a couple areas of Japan, maybe Shibuya, Akihabara, the manga and anime zone, Denden Town, Kirin, Osaka, Shinsaibashi, and Namba, but each one of those little areas of Japan are a very, very few city blocks. And that's about it. The rest of Japan dresses totally casual and normal, or in suits like a salaryman does. That's why you always hear the word salaryman from Japan. And that's why you always see a lot of Japanese men wearing suits here. That tends to be the average thing. Office ladies wear their office lady suits, which are pretty much a power suit for women. And pretty much any Japanese person would look at some of these crazy fashions and think the same thing as you. Wow, I would never wear that. Myth number three, in Japan it is against the law to be fat. This is a strange one that I never heard from within Japan, but always from outside. Some of the other ones that I mentioned before, even Japanese people have told me about them and laughed with me. But this one was a strange one that I heard from outsiders and people who are interested or Japanophiles thinking that this one's real. Its original source I do not know, but let me clear it up a little bit because there's a tad bit of truth in this one. Okay, against the law to be fat, no, that's totally ridiculous. I mean, think about it. This is the place where sumo wrestling was born. If it was against the law to be fat, how would we have sumo wrestling? That doesn't make any sense. But there is a sort of, I guess, a bylaw. Well, here, let me explain. Within big corporations within Japan, they have to pay a certain percentage of national health care. For example, if you work full-time, usually a company has to pay 70% of your national health care. Now, so that they don't have to pay more or get penalized by the government to have special insurance for you for health problems, a lot of companies try to force their employees to stay healthy and fit because it can actually save them money and the employee money in the long run. It's also something that they kind of do to look out for their own employees' healths. Now, if people don't actually follow this, or they don't follow the rule, or they do just let themselves get fat, they're not penalized and no one is actually fired for getting fat. Maybe that's happened in a very exceptional case, but usually that cannot happen in Japan and is against the law to actually do so. It is also not against the law to be fat. Number 4. This is kind of a broad one, and I'm going to cover a lot with it. I'm just going to say every trending fetish you have ever heard about in any newspaper around the world is fake. That's not true. There might be very, very, very small, niche, underground handful of groups that follow any of these trending fetishes that you hear about, from eyeball licking to cuddle cafes. But think about your own country and think about the many weird fetishes you've heard about within there, and ask yourself, does every person in that country do this fetish or that fetish? No, they probably don't. For example, in America, you've got pony play. If you've never heard of this fetish before, it's a fetish in which people dress up as ponies and have people ride them around. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never done that in my own country of America. There's also furries, which I have nothing against, but people who dress up as anthropomorphic animals and sometimes, not always, but sometimes have intimate relationships within these costumes. Never done it. Have you? If you haven't, then your whole country doesn't do it, does it? Same thing goes for Japan. Every single trending fetish you ever read about does not happen to every person, nor is every person in Japan into it. In fact, if you showed it to almost anybody in Japan, they would agree with you, that's weird. Who does that? Not me. Myth number 5, there are strange vending machines in Japan. Yes, I've covered this one before, but I didn't fully explain myself properly, and it got me in a lot of trouble. A lot of people were shouting at me that yes, there are vending machines for eggs, there are vending machines for rice, there's vending machines for panties too, used panties on top of that, and strange toys and even sexual fetish objects. Okay, let's better define this so that there's not a flame war down in the comments. When I say vending machine, I mean a rectangular shaped machine with a lit up menu, a place to put 100, 200 yen in, press the button, and out drops either that drink or the packaged food that you asked for on the menu. Nothing more, nothing less. All right? There are other types of machines that have the other products that I've talked about. Those types of machines are either number 1, a gacha gacha, also known as a capsule machine, in which you put in 200 to 300, sometimes 500 yen. You turn a knob that goes gacha, 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 gacha. That's the kind of sound it makes. The word itself is an onomatopoeia. And out pops a capsule, which is very different from any type of vending machine. Yes, those have some strange stuff in it. Those have a lot of different toys, which aren't that crazy, but they also do have things like used panties. Well, supposedly used panties. Number 2, there are locker storage or food locker or refrigerator-esque type machines in which you put a couple coins in and are able to open the refrigerated door and grab some sort of food. This is kind of like a grocery store that doesn't need clerks at it. This can have anything from eggs to rice, but even the rice ones are a little bit different because you put in different amounts of coins, choose the size of the rice, 1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cup, 4 cup, it spills it into a bag that you can then seal up. And it's a totally different mechanism from a vending machine. If you saw a vending machine next to one of these machines, you would not consider them the same. Actually, you want to hear a little bit of a weird story about vending machines? A friend of mine had a friend who was a Yakuza, and that guy wanted to sell the used panties business. So he had all the guys in his gang wear those panties, and they put them in the capsules after that and sold them as used panties. But apparently the otaku who are really into used panties smelled them and said, dude, this does not smell like a woman. So you know what he did? He had his mom and all her friends who were 50 to 60 plus wear the panties, and then he collected those and put them in the capsule machine. Now you guys know what you're buying when you get those panties in a capsule machine. Yummy. Well, there you go, guys. JFAC. Once again, as always, JFAC. Like I said, it's not going anywhere. I'm not taking JFAC off of my channel. A lot of people got really worried when they saw my news and J News and YouTuber news that this show was disappearing, but it's never going to disappear. And also, the walk and talk JFAC are not going to disappear. None of the stuff you see on my channel is going to disappear, including Unrest Watch and even Osoroshi Saturday, which comes out tomorrow. Guys, what I would love from you is more questions. Try to think of ones that are outside the box of what we usually get asked here in Japan. Can I work this job? Can I do this in Japan? Think about weird news articles you like too and ask if those are real. On top of it, if you do love JFAC a ton more than the J News or the YouTuber news, the way you can show me that is by sharing this video, liking this video, commenting on this video, and subscribing to my channel. The more likes that this video gets, the higher up it shows on a YouTube result, the more views it gets, the more I know I need to be making more of these. The more shares that this gets all around the internet, the more people who come to see it, the more subscribers that get, and the more I know I need to be making these videos. If you want to let me know, Scott, I want to see way more JFAC than J News, just share and I'll care. Until next time, I'm Unrested with the questions you requested. This is JFAC, Japan's frequently asked questions.